You're not going to believe how this story ends, but it all started with a cup of coffee and a woman no one wanted to look at. It was December. Cold, wet. The kind of weather that made people walk faster, heads down, collars up. In a city full of people, somehow everyone felt alone. That morning, Ethan, 29, mid-level marketing assistant, was already running late. His bus had broken down, his inbox was overflowing, and today, of all days, was the corporate holiday party. He hated those things. Fake smiles, bad speeches, awkward secret Santas. But attendance was strongly encouraged, which in corporate terms meant show up or start job hunting. As he passed the coffee shop on 8th and Main, he saw her again. The homeless woman. Same coat, same spot, same distant look in her eyes. She'd been there for weeks now. No one knew her name. Most people just called her the ghost of the corner. People avoided her. Some crossed the street. Others threw quick glances, then looked away, pretending not to notice. But today, Ethan stopped. Something about her face made him pause. She wasn't just dirty. She looked broken, like someone who hadn't been spoken to kindly in a very long time. He hesitated, then bought 2 coffees, walked back to the corner, offered her one. She blinked, surprised, took it carefully, as if she thought it might disappear. "Thanks," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, educated, not what he expected. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. She hesitated, then answered, "Clara." He sat beside her on the cold bench, just for a minute. They talked. Not about her situation. She seemed uncomfortable with questions. But she listened, asked about his job, his favorite music, if he believed in karma. By the end of the conversation, he found himself smiling. She laughed once, too, quietly, like someone who hadn't heard her own laugh in months. Then, impulsively, as he got up to leave, Ethan said something he hadn't planned. "Hey, my company's throwing a holiday party tonight. Bunch of fake suits and bad wine. Want to come?" She blinked. "You're inviting me to a party?" He laughed. "Yeah, why not?" "I'm not exactly dressed for it." He shrugged. "You look better than most of them inside." Clara smiled, a little sad. "Thank you." "I'm serious," he said. "If you show up, I'll sneak you a plate of those overpriced hors d'oeuvres. We'll make fun of the CEO's tie." She tilted her head. "And they'll just let me in?" "I'll walk you through myself." She looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "All right, maybe I'll come." That night, Ethan almost forgot about it. The office was packed. Music, lights, everyone pretending to like each other for 3 hours. He stood near the back, holding a warm soda, watching his co-workers mingle. The CEO hadn't shown up yet. Typical. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw her. Clara, hair brushed, face clean, still wearing the same coat, but somehow she carried it differently, like it didn't define her. A few heads turned. Whispers started immediately. Ethan rushed over. "You came." "I said maybe," she smirked. "You clean up well," he teased. She smiled. "I was never that dirty to begin with." But something was off. People were looking, not just at her, but at her face. Some frowned. Others whispered faster. A few looked genuinely uncomfortable, like they'd seen a ghost. Then the room shifted. The double doors opened, and in walked Martin Hale, founder, CEO, billionaire boss no one ever saw in person. Tall, silver hair, sharp eyes. He walked straight into the room, and his eyes locked instantly on Clara. He froze, dropped the glass in his hand, and whispered, "Clara?" The entire room fell silent. Clara turned, met his eyes, and said, "Hello, Martin." You could hear the silence breathe. Clara stood still. Not embarrassed, not proud, just present. Across the room, Martin Hale looked like he'd seen a ghost. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, finally, one word. Where have you been?" Clara's eyes didn't blink. "Would it matter if I told you?" The room, now filled with VPs and managers pretending not to listen, leaned in without moving. Ethan stepped slightly away, not wanting to interrupt, but not willing to abandon her. Martin took a step forward. "You disappeared. You just vanished." Clara raised an eyebrow. "You mean I stopped existing once I left your mansion?" People blinked, confused. Mansion? Ethan's heart thudded. Martin Hale, voice low now, said, "I looked for you. Clara, I—" "No," she cut him off. "You looked for control, not for me." Whispers broke out behind the champagne bar. One intern near the window mouthed, "Who is she?" Clara turned to the crowd, slowly. Her voice was clear, steady. "I'm Clara Hale, or at least I used to be." Gasps, full-on gasps now. "Wife?" someone whispered. "Ex-wife?" another muttered. Ethan stepped forward slightly, eyes wide. "You were married to him?" Clara didn't look at him. She just kept her eyes on Martin. "I was the woman behind the name," she said softly. "For 14 years. I helped design his pitch decks, write his keynote speeches, build this company's first campaigns. But I was always in the shadow, always the supportive wife. Until I got sick." Martin flinched. Ethan felt a chill go down his spine. "I had a breakdown," she continued. "Panic attacks, depression. One day, I just stopped functioning. Martin told the board I was on vacation, and when I didn't recover fast enough," she paused, "he asked me to step aside, quietly, permanently." The room was ice. Martin shook his head. "That's not fair. You pushed me away." "I was drowning, Martin," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "And you gave me a glass of water." Then the truth dropped. "I left," she said. "I walked out with a backpack and a bus pass. I thought I'd come back in a week. But then I got sick again. Ended up in a shelter. No ID, no insurance, just stories no one believed." She looked around the room. "No one here noticed me. Not when I was sleeping 3 blocks from this building. Not when I sat on that bench for 6 weeks. Not when I watched you all walk by with coffee and headphones and perfect shoes." Her eyes landed on Ethan. Except for him. The room turned. Martin followed her gaze. Ethan tried to speak, but couldn't. Clara smiled at him. A tired, genuine smile. "You didn't know who I was," she said. "And that's why it mattered." The party was over. Music still played, glasses still clinked in nervous hands, but no one heard it anymore. All eyes were either locked on Clara or studiously avoiding her. Martin Hale, A man who'd silenced boardrooms and bent Wall Street with a single headline, now stood speechless, his wife's story echoing in the marble and glass lobby he called success. He walked slowly toward her. "Clara," he said again, this time not with authority, but with ache. "I didn't know where you were. I swear to God, I didn't know." She met his gaze, "But you stopped looking." That landed harder than anything else. "I was hurting," she said, softer now. "And you treated it like inconvenience, like illness was weakness, like emotion made me defective." Martin swallowed hard. "I didn't know how to help." Clara blinked back tears. "That was the point. You didn't try." Ethan watched from the side, fists clenched. He wanted to say something, anything. But this wasn't his moment. Or maybe it was. Clara turned toward him. "This is Ethan," she said to the room, "the only person in this building who treated me like a human being." Martin looked at him, and for a second Ethan braced for ego, anger, maybe even dismissal. But instead, Martin just nodded. Slowly, "You have my thanks," he said, "and my respect." The silence now was different, heavier, not uncomfortable, just real. A junior HR manager approached with shaking hands, whispering something about protocol. Martin raised a hand. She backed off instantly. He turned back to Clara. "I don't know what to say," he admitted. "But if there's a way to make this right." She looked at him for a long, unreadable moment. Then, "You can't make it right, Martin. You can only start over." He nodded. "I want to." A beat passed. Clara didn't respond right away, but the tightness in her shoulders eased. Ethan felt like the room finally exhaled. Later that evening, Clara sat in the CEO's private office, the same one she once helped decorate, with a warm drink in her hand for the first time in years. Martin had left her alone. Ethan stood near the door, awkward in his party shoes, hands in his pockets. "You okay?" he asked gently. Clara looked at him and smiled. "Better." "You were amazing back there," she chuckled. "I think I traumatized half your department." "They deserved it." Another pause. "I didn't know who you were," he said. "And I'm glad I didn't." She looked at him, eyebrows raised. "Because if I had," he said, "I might have treated you differently, and I would have missed the real you." Clara's eyes softened. "Thank you, Ethan," she said. "You reminded me who that is." 1 week later, every employee at Hale & Co. received a calendar invite that made no sense. Mandatory all-staff meeting, 10 a.m., executive auditorium. No agenda, no department attached, just one name in the footer: Martin Hale. Rumors flew fast. Layoffs, a merger, a new brand launch. But no one expected what actually happened. The auditorium buzzed as employees filed in. Ethan sat near the back, heart thudding. He hadn't seen Clara since that night. He didn't know what had happened behind the scenes, only that the entire company felt different now, like it was holding its breath. At 10:01, Martin Hale walked onto the stage, alone. No assistant, no marketing team, no press. He stepped up to the mic, cleared his throat, and paused. "This company was built with vision," he began, "with courage, creativity, and innovation." He looked over the crowd slowly, but we lost something along the way. People shifted in their chairs. "Sometimes, when you build something too tall," he said, "you forget to look down. You don't see who you're standing on, or who you've left behind." He swallowed hard. "Last week, many of you saw a woman walk into our holiday party. Some of you stared, others whispered, some asked her to leave." The room froze. Ethan leaned forward, breath caught in his chest. "That woman," Martin said, "was Clara Hale, my wife." Gasps, audible, genuine. From all corners of the auditorium. Martin continued, "She helped build this company from scratch. Before any of you knew my name, she was helping craft every pitch, every campaign, every strategic decision. She was the spine of this business." His voice wavered. "And when she needed me, I failed her." Dead silence. "I let my ego become her absence. I let my ambition silence her pain, and I've been paying for it ever since." A pause. Then, "Which is why today I'm announcing the reinstatement of Clara Hale as co-chair of the Hale Foundation and strategic advisor to this company's new outreach division." Eyes widened, jaws dropped, and from the side of the stage, Clara walked in, not as a shadow, not as a wife, but as a woman who had already survived the fire and walked back in anyway. She wore the same coat, but now it looked like armor. She took the second mic, calm, clear. "Thank you, Martin," she said, her voice carrying like a wave. "And thank you to those who've reached out in the past few days. Your kindness matters." She looked out over the sea of stunned faces. "We're building something new, something human. Starting now, this company will launch a mentorship program for unhoused women with creative backgrounds. We will fund job re-entry initiatives, and we'll hire people who don't look like they walked out of a showroom." She paused. "Because I used to be one of you, and then I wasn't, and now I am again. But I refuse to let the door close behind me." Applause, first light, then thunderous from the back row to the board. Ethan stood and clapped until his hands hurt. A week later, Clara passed by the corner on 8th and Main. Her bench was still there, empty now, but not forgotten. She left a coffee on it, black, no sugar, just like she used to drink it, and a note. To the next stranger who needs to be seen, you matter. Don't let this city convince you otherwise. CH. We're all walking past people with stories we can't see. Not every hero wears a badge. Not every CEO wears a suit. And sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one you ignored on the sidewalk. So ask yourself, who are you seeing today? And who are you choosing to look past? Because kindness doesn't cost a thing, but it can change everything.